while only a small percentage of kids are proficient in math and English. To discuss, let's bring in our company Republican strategist and town hall contributor, Erin Elmore, along with National Memo Editor-in-Chief Joe Conason. Erin, Joe, welcome back.
Thank you.
Hey, Lindsay.
Hey. All right, well, I was so disheartened to see these numbers. I know that we all know that our kids have gone through a lot this past year, but New York public schools are spending $25,000 to $27,000 per student.
You know, this is actually very shameful, and the teachers' unions should be held accountable, and the school districts should be held accountable, and the parents running the school boards should be held accountable. We need our children to understand math, science, these core concepts, as opposed to things like critical race theory. You know, President Trump pushed for school choice and charter schools, but of course the Democrats don't do that because they are beholden to the teachers union. And what we need to do as parents, forget politics, is hold these people accountable and say, my child is not proficient in these various areas, and changes need to occur because our children are the asset of the future, and we really need to make sure that they are in the best hands possible. And right now in New York, they are not.
Yeah, I mean, our children are our future, and they're bearing the brunt of this. You know, Joe, I don't blame teachers for this at all. I mean, their hands are tied in many ways, and I'm sure they're trying to do the best job possible. But when you think about the money that is available to make programs better, or, you know, obviously we've been in a new trend of trying to do things online. But when I look at these numbers, 6% of fifth graders proficient in math.
First of all, New York has the highest cost of living, so comparing a national average to New York City is just a category error. It's a mistake. It doesn't mean anything.
You know, play teacher as well. It's a lot of issues. And so, you know, Erin, when I think about this, even $12,000 is a lot per student, because a lot of times if you are living in the suburbs, $12,000 for a private school, that's a lot of money. It should be able to get you a great education.
It should, and bragging that New York City has the highest cost of living is shameful, because we should really be getting those costs down. Right. I know that there's a lot of bloat in the government there, and taxes are sky high. So it's not really a thing to brag about. Also, he pointed to a lot of school districts in very blue areas that haven't gone back yet, like Berkeley. I wonder what will happen in a year to those various blue districts. I bet you we see places like Florida and Arizona and Georgia that have governors who are conservative having higher test scores nationally in those red states, if you will. So let's just wait and see a little bit, but let's just get down to business here and say our children are our future, and making excuses for blue states isn't going to educate our kids.
Yeah. Joe, I do think you're trying to point out the fact that it was expensive. I do understand that, but I do want to get your take on this before we go, because
it is just a fact that we have a higher cost of living here. That's a fact. I didn't make it up. It's not an excuse. It's not anything of the kind. It's just a fact, and it's why things cost more here, including education.
It's called capitalism and commerce.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, it's because that's how their kids get the best education. Why do they get the best education?
So you think there are no Republicans in public school in New York City?
They pay $50,000 or more for tuition. They have 2 teachers in a classroom with 25 kids, not one teacher teaching 30 kids.
Yeah. All right. Well, there's some different standards there. I do want to ask you this before we go, Joe, because I want to get your opinion on it, and then we'll go. But we had de Blasio and Cuomo celebrating opening the city, which obviously this is a great thing. I'm about it. Do you think that that was the right tone? I just want to get your take.
To have fireworks when the city reopened? Listen,
yeah, reopening because we were in a pandemic.
I think the governor sees his job as promoting New York as a place for people to visit and come and spend their tourist dollars. It's, you know, I love New York since his dad was governor. That's part of what they do.
Having fireworks on Memorial Day or something similar where you're not celebrating people who have passed. But we'll leave it there. We're going to bring you guys back and talk about Dr. Fauci, who's changed his tone once again. We'll discuss after the break. All right, Dr. Fauci now says everyone should be open to a lab leak theory. Listen to this.
We have always kept an open mind. In fact, as early as the end of January, the beginning of February, when some people looked at the virus and said, you know, this could possibly be something that came from a lab, I brought together a group of scientists.
It's our company, Erin Elmore and Joe Conason. Thanks for coming back, guys. This is an interesting one to me, Joe, because it feels like we are putting politics, or some of these scientists put politics over people's safety and some of the concerns that they are publicly saying that they had then.
How would it affect people's safety? I don't quite understand that.
Well, because
How
if
would it
we
affect
knew
people's
where
safety?
the origins were sooner, we could have maybe learned more about this virus, gotten a vaccine quicker. Give Erin a little time because we're almost out of time. But Erin, it does feel like Dr. Fauci, he's just wavering back and forth, and now he wants to say, oh, actually, I was the one that brought this up.
He said I so many times in that clip. We already know that he is self-obsessed, but it really sounds like he's a megalomaniac. And I refuse to be like the Democrat apologists making excuse for Anthony Fauci's terrible behavior. He's the highest paid bureaucrat in Washington. Please don't interrupt. He's the highest paid bureaucrat in Washington. He has, I think, 0 peer-reviewed medical journal articles. He's literally lacking in credibility and has now been a proven liar. He knew about the particle size very early on in the pandemic and told people that they didn't need to wear masks, then they had to wear masks, and they had to wear 2 masks. His credibility is shot, and he should be fired immediately.
It is concerning to see the back and forth. You can like him or dislike him. I would agree with you on that, Joe. He likely will not be fired with this administration.
He's not going to be fired. He's
Joe, Erin,
one of the finest public
unfortunately,
servants
all right,
ever
we're going to have to leave it there. We're out of time. I'm going to have to cut you off, unfortunately. That's our show.